Yep, go to modules and then go to you'll see that there's one set up there, but under your reader response criticism, but I want you to go below that, and we're going to go to developing writing stage 2, and then go to where it says sentence structure activity. Everybody see that? So when you get to the sentence structure activity, you'll see that it says that the phrase sentence structure can be taken a lot of different ways. Okay? We'll talk down the road about things like problematic sentences, when we have indefinite references and all these type of things. Some just common mistakes that people make when they're writing sentences. And by the way, when I say common mistakes, I'm not talking just about seniors in high school or students in general, okay? I mentioned before that I worked for a company before I became a teacher, and I would receive emails from people who made hundreds of $1,000s a year, okay? And I would look through their emails, and because I had an English degree, I would, happen to look at that and be like, wow, these guys make 3 or 4 times what I make, and they can't put a sentence together, all right? And people will judge you on that, okay? It's not just about grading. It's also about the fact that regardless what field you get into as you get older, you are going to have to write something that people are going to read, okay? Whether it's a resume or it might be a cover letter for something. It might just be some emails. They might just give you a form and say, fill this out and explain to us why we should give you this promotion, or we should give you this raise, or we should give you this job, all right? They're interested in that. They're going to judge you not just on what you're trying to say, but how you say it too, okay? That could be the difference in getting one of those jobs. So that's why, it's kind of a big deal to go over this type of thing, to go over sentence structure, all right? Now, when you look at that module that's there in front of you, I have a chart there for you. And that chart has a list of words. It's called subordinating conjunctions. Can everybody see that chart? All of you? Okay, have you heard that term before, subordinating conjunctions? Yeah. I got a couple of nods. Eventually, yeah. Okay, what do they do? Anybody tell me? That's the tricky part.
They piece together 2 statements.
Okay. Do you know what kind of statements?
It could be like simple or complex statements.
Yeah. Yes.
Like counter, like what the word is, like counteracting sentences.
Counter. Okay, I see what you're saying. How about if we take away the words phrases and sentences, and we replace it with the word clauses? Okay, we talked about clauses and sentences before. Yeah, the 2 main ones, independent and dependent clauses. Okay, every clause that's out there has to have someone or something either doing something or existing. Okay? That's what's going on in there. I know that those are vague terms, but we're talking about all of them, all of the clauses. Okay? It can be personal, it can be something like I as a subject, or you, okay? It could be a thing. Okay, the train. Okay, however you want to do it. Those are subjects, okay? Those are either a person or a thing. And then we have them either doing something like here in the past, I ran outside, okay? Or we can have them just existing. the train is here, okay? It's important to point out the existing parts because some people say a verb is action, which is true. You know, most of the verbs are actions. But you can't exactly get up and is for everybody. Andrew, you want to get up and show us how to is? No? Okay. How about be? Gage, can you be for us? He's just already doing it, right? So, doing something or existing. Now, because we just have the subject and the predicate here, the subject and the verb with the rest of it, or the subject and the verb with the rest of it, we have a clause. And it's a complete thought. It's an independent clause. I ran outside, period. That gives people all the information they need to know about that. Okay? But if you throw one of those subordinating conjunctions in front of one of these, then it changes. Okay? Somebody give me one that fits with one of these clauses. Because? Okay. You said if? Okay. So I'll use those two as soon as I find my, there we go. And I'll put them at the beginning. Because I ran outside, and if the train is here. Are those complete thoughts now?
No.
No. You're expecting more, right? You can't just like walk into a room and say, if the train is here, and then walk back out and everybody will say, okay, I got everything they need. Right? Or because I ran outside, what? Okay? Which I know is annoying to a lot of students because sometimes when we're asked a question, we want to just answer it with the because statement and say, well, that's a complete thought because it's a complete answer. Well, technically it's not. Okay, technically, this isn't independent anymore. So I got to get rid of those periods. They're dependent. Okay? So those are your two types of clauses. You're independent and dependent. And whenever you add one of those subordinating conjunctions on the front of one of them, they automatically become dependent. Notice that it still has somebody or something doing something or existing. Okay? That's how it's a clause. Okay? Some people get confused by that and they'll just put a phrase in. That changes the rules for this a little bit. Okay? That changes the sentence type. Now, there's one extra thing I wanted to show you with these, and I'm going to switch to blue for that. One of the things I noticed in the writing when people were trying to do this is the missing of the punctuation when using a dependent clause. Okay? If this, here's the rule for it. If the dependent clause is at the beginning of the sentence, you're going to have a comma after it. If the dependent clause is at the end of the sentence, you don't need it. Okay? And I know that's a no red ink thing. Some of you did that last year on no red ink, but just kind of refreshing this in your memory, like we said. So if I were to have, because I ran outside at the beginning of I'm sorry, I'm going to use this one because it's at the bottom. If the train is here at the beginning of the sentence, then we need to throw a comma right after it. If the train is here. And then we still have to add a complete independent clause. Because every sentence type has to have an independent clause. If it doesn't have an independent clause, it's not a sentence. So what can we finish this with? What independent clause would make sense with this? If the train is here, what? Marvin?
People are gonna
People are gonna what?
get on it.
Okay, people will get on it. That works. That's how it has to be written. If the train is here, comma, people will get on it. But if you have that subordinating conjunction in the middle of a sentence, like the word because, first of all, I have to get rid of that capital because it's not gonna start the sentence. What can we say that goes along with because I ran outside? I died? Okay. That makes it difficult to explain to somebody later.
No,
Hey, just so you know, I died a little bit ago. What's that? Your ghost? Okay. So I died because I ran outside. Okay? You can reverse these. Okay? You can reverse. People will get on it if the train is here. Okay? You can reverse the I died because I ran outside. You can say because I ran outside, comma, I died. But just notice that if you have the independent clause first, no comma. Dependent clause first, comma. Everybody get it? Make sense? Good with all of that? All right. Now we get to this chart. So this is what this is all about, these 4 different sentence types. Okay? If you look up here, I have a list down the left-hand side of 4 different sentence types. Okay? And as I said, you can use that word sentence types a lot of different ways. You know, we were talking about declarative sentences and, you know, versus the questions, okay? Then that would be, those would be different types. But here, we're talking about these styles, okay? Simple, complex, compound, and compound complex. Have you covered these before? Do you remember covering these, I should say? How many independent clauses do you think you have in a simple sentence? Independent. 1. How many dependent clauses do you think you have in an in a simple sentence? None, yeah. In order to be simple, that's how you define a simple sentence. It just has no dependent clauses, 1 independent clause. Okay? So all we could have from here is I ran outside. That's it. Okay? What about complex? How many independent clauses do you think you need? 1. How many dependent clauses? 1. That's what makes a complex sentence, okay? Having 1 of each. Because I ran outside, the dependent, I died is independent. These are complex sentences. How about compound? How many independent clauses do you think you need? And a
2.
stunned silence hits the crowd. 2, yeah. Dependent clauses?
0.
0, right. Now I'm going to put a little plus here next to these complex because this is just a combination of these 2, right? 1, I'll get out of your way in a second here, sorry. 1 plus complex and 2 independent clauses, 1 plus dependent clauses. The only reason why I put that plus there is because it is grammatically possible to have multiple clauses in there that have 2 different people or 2 different things doing something with a subordinating conjunction before them, okay? I'm not going to go into all that right now, but that's why that little plus is there. For the most part, it's easiest to remember these without the plus. You just go 0, 1, 0, 1 on dependent clauses, 1, 1, 2, 2 on independent clauses, okay? If it has the word compound in it anywhere, 2, independent. If it has the word complex in there, 1, dependent. Everybody got it? So if I wanted to make this a compound sentence, I might well, first of all, does anybody know what type of conjunction goes into a compound sentence? These are subordinating here. Have you ever heard the term fanboys before for this? What are the fanboys? Same again, for, and, nor, but with one T, please. Let's keep it above board. Or, yet, and so. Yeah. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. The fanboys words. These are technically called coordinating conjunctions. And there are just those 7 of them. Okay, they're all kinds of conjunctions. 3 different levels of conjunctions, plus there are conjunctive adverbs and all kinds of stuff out there. We're just going to focus on these. And I'm not going to ask you to do what they asked me to do when I was in school, and that was memorize all the subordinating conjunctions in alphabetical order. And then at any time the teacher could call on you, and you have to stand up and say them all in alphabetical order. So you had to stand there and say, about, as if, and so on. Okay? Which I don't even have them all memorized anymore. These are the words you're going to use. One of these have to appear if you have a compound or a compound complex sentence. Okay? So if I wanted to use the information from here in a compound sentence, I'll say something like, I ran outside and the train is here. Okay? I know that that's kind of a clunky sentence, but grammatically it's correct. If I wanted to make it compound complex, I would add one of these subordinating conjunctions with it. Okay? If the train is here, comma, I will run outside, comma, and I'll die. Okay? I changed the tense a little bit, but that has all 3 of them. Okay, the complex, if the train is here. The dependent clause, if the train is here. The independent clause, the first independent clause, I will run outside. And then the comma, then and then the other independent clause, I will die. Everybody got it? Like I said, I know this is a refresher for you. I know that's not super fun, but I noticed in a lot of the writing that there was an issue with this, okay? Particularly, people forgot this part. How many independent clauses are you allowed to have in a complete sentence before you're done? Well, these 2's, notice that there's no plus here. What's that telling you? If there's no plus on the independent clauses side for the 2, what does that tell you? Yeah, the most you're allowed is 2. You can only have 1 or 2 independent clauses, that's it. And if you have 2, there has to be one of these fanboys words between them with a comma. And we're going to go over some comma rules too. Like I said, I know you know a lot of them, but I just got to refresh on that too. There were quite a few pieces of writing, and this is like all across the grade level, not just you guys. There were quite a few of these writings where people put 2 independent clauses together with just a comma. You can't do that. That's still a run-on, okay? So it has to be, 1 independent clause, one of these, comma, then one of these words, and then the next one. Everybody good with all this? Any questions? Okay, so what you are going to do is you're going to go into the Canvas, look down at the bottom, there's a link there for you, and it asks you to go to, first you'll have to make a copy and put it in your folder like we've always been doing. This, instead of a document, it's going to be a Google Drawing. And you're just going to go in and you're going to create your own one of each sentence, okay? You're going to make a simple, you're going to make a complex, make a compound complex, okay? challenge yourself a little bit and see if you can keep writing that first independent clause you use all the way through them, okay? And then when you're done, just make sure you take that link, share it back to me, turn that in as your URL into Canvas, and then you're good. Everybody good with that? Okay, if you have any questions, please ask me along the way.